Hey, welcome everyone. I am really excited for today's conversation. I am joined by both Jason and Ethan Combs, a father and son team behind Coombs Farms, Colorado, a family farm in the San Luis Valley that's been running since 1914. They raise beef, pork, lamb, hay, grain, and they sell beef shares direct from their farm to local families who want to fill their freezers with Colorado beef. To kick us off, I just want to do a quick introduction on Jason and Ethan. And then I'm hoping that they can talk to us a little bit more about how did Combs Farm turn into what it is today. When you look back at 1914, parts of that legacy are you most intentional about keeping alive?
So, introducing, I'm Jason Combs. I am the fourth generation. My great grandfather actually homesteaded the property that we now currently live on and has been here. My wife, Spring, she's from Oregon. We met college, got married. She willingly moved here and we started our family to kind of keep this farm going. In my family, I have five children, and one of my sons, Ethan, is now kind of helping, taking over and beginning to continue our legacy, we like to think.
Building off of that, I'm Ethan. I just loved growing up on the farm. All I can ever remember is wanting to be on the tractors and out in the field and doing it. That's kind of been my whole goal my whole life, is to get out of school and get back to farming. So it's fun to be here as the fifth generation. My four other siblings were a little smarter and decided to go do something better and have a little more stability with their paychecks, I guess. But I'm here. We have three kids now, my wife and I. We're hoping to just kind of keep it continuing. If they have the love for farming, then hopefully we can just keep passing it down and keep growing how we can to keep everybody fed and happy.
Would you change anything, either one of you, now that you've been on the farm?
Yeah, I think when I took over, my dad was a school teacher. So my grandfather, my dad's dad, when he was on the farm here, it seems like we've all had off-farm jobs. At the time, we only had 210 acres. We've now increased that where Ethan lives. We got another 245 acres. So we're just under 500 acres. But I guess I wished we would have started back then when I first got into it, kind of what my son and I are doing now, direct marketing, getting out of this idea that we raise a product, we sell it to the middleman or a commodity buyer who then enhances it or then sells it. And, we're always on that back end. That's kind of what we started about 3 years ago. This idea of direct marketing. I guess the term is vertically integrate and get to
Okay.
where we can be more in touch with the actual consumer and that we can build that relationship. I kind of wish we could have done that earlier. I think the way it's working is it's improving. Every year gets a little better. And I think it's our future.
Okay. I was looking on your site a little bit and I was also noticing that you guys do sell more than just meat, right? Beef is your main product, but you guys also still do pork and lamb, correct?
That is correct. We don't raise everything. We've learned that we're kind of like a local resourcer. My brother also farms and he lives about 7 or 8 miles away. He used to have beef and he might be getting back into it a little bit as this grows. But we have neighbors that raise lamb. My son just recently started getting more into the pigs, the pork. We found people want that. So we're trying to meet the customer's needs.
Okay.
I think we've spent a lot of time, kind of like Dad mentioned a minute ago, where you just kind of get stuck on this is how it always is. You raise your hay, you sell it to whoever buys it. And for the cows, the same thing. You raise the calves, you sell them to the market, whatever the price is, you're just kind of stuck to whatever that is. So, when you asked if I would change something, I guess I'm still kind of new enough to it that not too much. I think I am the change we're making. And thankfully together we're on the same page to do it. When I wanted to start farming, we couldn't feed two families off of it. And so I think that had a big implication on what we had to do to diversify a little bit. I actually went and bought a bunch of cows. Dad had some, but I went and took out a loan and bought a big bunch of them because mostly I'm feeding my family off of the beef side of it. Dad is kind of doing his family and farming off of more of the hay and whatever. It's all together. We have accounts together and keep it going, but we couldn't keep growing without diversifying. We just found that beef would help ensure that we could stay sustainable and growing. And then, of course, the pork, lamb, some of that just has kind of helped ensuring that we could keep going. Otherwise, it just isn't sustainable to keep each generation going.
That makes sense. I also saw that you guys do the alfalfa, forage, and grain. How does that mix work in practice? Like between the grains and the livestock?
So because we're trying to market our beef, our pork, and some of our neighbors' lambs, we found that we control what the inputs are. So by us raising the hay, the grains, the product, we know what we're feeding our animals. It's not
Okay.
we're buying, purchasing, it's raised here too. And we clearly can raise more than what our animals can eat. So then we try to market. We've been very successful. We have some very good neighbors and friends around that take our hay to the dairies. This year sold about 24 semi loads of dairy hay
Dang.
that went other places, and we can use our other hays for our animals, our cows. It's a growing process. You know, you got to have grinders, you got to have equipment, and well, it wasn't just jump in, and we're still in the process. You know, we're very small, hopefully growing incrementally, but it's been successful. We think we got the right business plan. We just got to hang with it.
Okay.
I think part of it is just that, like I said, we produce way more than we need, but also the markets are just so up and down all the time. I have a friend that's about my age and mostly just does hay and grain. But when those markets suck, it's hard for them to make their financial obligations. For us, if hay prices are terrible, but we don't have to sell it, we can put it through our cows and make more money that way, you know? Or if hay prices are really good, then we'll sell more hay and try to pasture more or buy back the cheaper quality hay that our cows still put to good use. So it just kind of helps you be a little more stable, I think. We don't get that monthly paycheck that no matter what, it hits your bank account. And so this helps us ensure that there's always somewhere for money to come in to cash flow what we're doing.
Sounds like a diversified portfolio.
I think a big asset to what we do is we work together as a family. And say that tritely, but my brother is very much a part of this too. He's a mechanic. He's an air conditioning specialist. He has his farmland. We all work together. We share equipment, tractors, combines. When somebody's harvesting, we all jump in and we harvest for whoever and however. I think maybe back in the early 1900s, that's the way things worked. And
Okay.
I like to think that we're still maintaining that. We've had a lot of neighbors and friends ask us, like, I don't know how you guys can do that. Well, we don't charge each other. We don't keep score. We do whatever we can do to make him profitable. He does whatever he can do to help us stay profitable. And we work together. If his hay gets rained on and he doesn't have a good market for it, we know our cows can eat it and we'll buy his hay. On the other hand, when we're looking for pastures and stuff, he's like, hey, bring those cows out here. I think that for us has been key, the whole family unity part of it and working so that we can all succeed.
Cool. I just want to do a really quick pitch. So everyone that's watching, you can see that I'm actually wearing a hat from them. It's the Coombs Farms, Colorado. And what I really like to continue on what Jason and Ethan are saying, it's the Coombs Farms, Coombs, meaning family. Like they really are a family unit. The other thing too is you're there in La Jara, Colorado, right? So as you talk about your brother, the San Luis Valley, is your brother so far away that if it rains on him, it might not rain on you guys? Or when you talk about pastures, what do you mean by that?
So this valley, what's 120 miles long by 75 miles wide.
Okay. That's pretty big.
We sit at 7,600 feet of elevation.
Okay. You're up
So
there.
we're a high mountain valley. It's very arid. It's very cold. This morning, it was 10 degrees, and we were hoping the tractors were going to start up so we could load some hay and do stuff. He lives 7-10 miles away, and the rain patterns are enough that sometimes he gets it and we don't. My son's property, he lives 4 miles to the west of me. There's times he gets it and I don't. You know, it's just how Mother Nature plays. But I mean, maybe that's how we diversify too, is we're scattered out and we can spread the risk by helping each other.
And obviously 4 miles or 7 miles is enough of a distance that it helps diversify and protect you guys. That's awesome. If we can talk a little bit about your meat, especially when it comes to like selling to consumer. Can you guys talk to me a little bit about that? What that looks like, how you guys sell that?
Yeah, that was an awesome idea. We haven't regretted, but boy, it's been educational for us too.
Okay.
You know, I guess growing up in it, we just thought everybody knows you get a beef, you butcher it, you know, roughly how much you get out of it. One beef isn't just 100% New York strip steaks, you know, there's diversity, right? So it's been very educational for us to understand where we are in today's world, as far as a lot of people in the urban areas that are just a lot more disconnected from our way of life, I guess, or from the farms, just from animals. So we created a website to try to kind of get our name out there. We've always sold a handful of beef, mostly to just family and friends that knew us, but we wanted to
Hmm.
market bigger. So I guess we just kind of dove in and said, what do we have to do to get our name out there? We did some small advertising things to test the waters. We created a website, a Facebook page, and
Hmm.
just started trying to kind of promote ourselves a little bit. It was really slow at first. It was kind of discouraging actually for the first few months trying to get stuff going, but then it's grown really good from there and exploded. What's helped us a bunch is just understanding what people do in the city. Like they're very much the same with us. So when people call us, just breaking it down and trying to get on the same level. What are you looking for me? And then telling them this is what we have. It's homegrown. We're feeding them hays and grains, just natural stuff they eat. We're not giving them anything extra, like hormones, a little more natural, I guess is kind of the way some people say it. Then just showing people that you can have a connection to what we're doing. We've had people come and see the farm and then pick up their meat to take home. We've had to explain, if you buy a quarter of a beef or a half a beef, what cuts you get out of it. When you're actually buying a beef, there's only certain parts of it that, can turn into steaks, roasts, burgers. We started trying to educate people. A lot of people buy meat at the store for, 5 or 10 pounds to last them a couple weeks, and we're giving them a couple 100 pounds. And so you got to have freezer space.
Part of it too is the fact that our meat is fresh. So when you're buying from us, this hasn't been in a freezer for 6 months, 8 months. It hasn't been held somewhere. We have a local certified butcher that we take a couple beef a month in. Most of the time they're pre-sold. There's sometimes that they're not pre-sold, but we go ahead, we're able to fill orders. I'm not bad mouthing the packers. It takes a lot to feed this country, but I think your big producers
Hmm.
and those guys have had to do some things to try to meet the market that we don't do. So when
Okay.
our animals are killed and ready to be cut up and slaughtered and done right, it's fresh. We don't flash freeze anything. We don't add ice to our burger to get it cooled down. So it takes time. If you were to call me and say, Combs, I want a beef, if we had it on hand, we could get it to you. But more than likely, you're looking at about a month. And we can get your beef into the butcher. You can tell us how you want it cut up, how thick you want your steaks, how many pounds to a package, a lot of that kind of stuff. We can have it ready for you in a month. And it's fresh and it's straight from the farm.
Nice. I actually want to ask you, you talked about the flash freeze. When I was there a couple months ago and we were talking, I mean, you even enlightened me on meat. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of the process? And like we were speaking about how they throw ice in and kind of what that does to the beef product as well. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, I mean, I'm not an expert at it, but I do know that we have slaughterhouses in this country that have to feed 300 million people, and they're
It's a lot.
slaughtering, 5,000 head a week. So some of these slaughterhouses, I mean, you do the math, they run 24/7. So typically in the old days, what you did was you killed an animal, you let it age. That means you let it hang for about 10 days so that it could cool out on its own and then be ready for processing. Because of how many people we have to feed in this country, these slaughterhouses don't have the time. So when they kill that animal and they get it down and they start breaking it down and getting the meat to grinding, it still has body temperature. So you grind it with ice, and that ice helps get in there to bring that temperature down. That's kind of what they call like the flash
Hmm.
freezing. And they may do that a couple times till they get that meat cooled down. You get some of that ice left in there. You can also buy 70% lean, 80% lean, 90% lean. You want to use every part of the animal. So if there's extra fats, if there's extra things, you add it into that burger. It's more weight and it's there. Then the other thing is people have been taught in this country that meat has to look a certain way. If you buy meat from us, our meat looks pretty deep red. It's almost a brown, natural color. When you go to the stores, you look at that. It's almost a pinkish red,
Yeah.
beautiful look. There's times they have to add dyes in there to get that to look that way, to make it appealing. That's been one of our education things is people buy from us the first time, they look at that meat and go, well, what's wrong with this meat? It doesn't look like the store. That's right. It doesn't look
It
like
does.
that's not what you got here. So it's things that the industries had to do to meet what they do. And, I'm not bad mouthing them for it, but also I think it's better when you're buying from a producer, and you're getting it straight. It's fresh. It's good. We don't add preservatives. We don't add things. It is what it is.
I think I would add a little bit too. Again, not trying to badmouth the industry. I mean, we're feeding a lot of people, right, on the land we have and stuff.
Yeah.
I know GMO is kind of a big thing when you're buying like vegetables and stuff. People want non-GMO or whatever and different things. It's kind of the same way when they process the meat. When we let ours hang for 10 days, it naturally breaks down. So your steaks, they actually get tender because they kind of start to break down when they're in the cooler in a very natural and good way. That's what gives you a good tender steak. If you cut one quick and start eating it, a lot of times it's not that tender. So again, the dyes or whatever, they have to kind of add some stuff. I'm not saying it's totally bad for you. We're people and it's good stuff, but it just has to be done on a different scale. Ours is a lot more kind of letting nature do its thing, right?
Okay.
Nature breaks it down over that 10 to 14 days of hanging, and it gets to that tenderness on its own as opposed to trying to force it to get there. Much like with GMOs, it's hard to produce enough feed for this country and world. So we add fertilizers and stuff because we're trying to get our yields up to meet those.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. When you can do it without it, I think you get a little better product. It is necessary in some cases, for other people, but that's kind of where we're at for some of it.
That makes sense. And I like it.
And talking about those GMOs, I mean, our grains, back when my grandfather was growing grain, if you could yield 60 bushel to the acre, you thought you were the king. And we're yielding 160 bushel to the acre now.
Dang.
And that's because of the genetics that we've had
Yeah.
in grains and things. We use genetics in our cattle. We look for good, high yielding, low birth weight bulls that meet our operation. It's just natural selection. We've got to be profitable, but we also know that the consumer needs a good product, and that's what we look for.
So in your guys' process, let's say call you guys up today and say, hey, I want some beef. You figure out what I want. You said it takes about a month, right? So does that month timeline include the fact that you got 10 days of basically natural cool down?
Yeah.
Nice.
So typically, about the first week of every month is when we butcher.
Okay.
So if they're going in on the first Friday of the month, they'll hang till the next Wednesday. So that 10 days factored in there. And if you were buying from us, we'd give you a cut sheet. You could say, I want my steaks inch thick, inch and a half thick. I want 2 to a package, 4 to a package. I want bone in, bone out. Yeah, I want more roasts, less roast, smaller roast, bigger roast. I want a full brisket, a half a brisket. You get it how you want to. And what's our butcher has that cut sheet, and it says Kirk's name on it. When it's done and it's cut, he calls us and says, hey, that beef is cut and ready, and it's in the freezer. We let it sit for 2 days, get it good and frozen, and then we call you up and say, how can we get it to you? What can we do to get this to you? And we deliver. That's been a fun process too. Lets us connect with who's buying from us.
Nice. A couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. When you look at the last 6 to 12 months, what do you feel has been working for you? And what do you feel has been frustrating?
I guess on the frustrating side, I think we're in a pretty good spot. I guess the struggle is trying to grow. It's been a constant struggle for a while. If I talk to somebody, I feel like I can really give them the information, I guess sort of be a good salesman. But to get that conversation started has been hard. And so I think marketing has been a big thing for us, where and how to market so that we can get the ball rolling with people. We've explored a lot of different options. Some of them weren't really cost effective to try because if it didn't work, it was kind of a big investment lost. Other ones have been smaller and we've tried to grow. So I would say our biggest struggle is just connecting with people that want our product. Actually, Dad just got back from a conference this last weekend that was for that, to help connect to different people that are looking for our kind of product, and us trying to figure out how to find and connect to them too. We're all looking for each other, but somehow we're not always connected. I would think that's probably one of our biggest struggles. I think we're pretty streamlined as far as the growing and processing. It's just the getting it from there into the hands of those that want it and need it,
Yeah, I would add to that. I mean, I think in the last 6 months, we've made some strides. We've been able to make some connections. The scary thing is, like in any business, is the connection we made was almost more than what we can handle, which is a good thing. You want to be able to provide the product, but the logistics of it, freezer space, inventory, and just the pipeline of getting that done. We've been doing this for what, 3 years now, pretty much kind of dedicating to it.
Mm-hmm.
We each took a small business class that our church provides,
Okay.
starting and growing your own business. It was a 12-week course. We both took it, and we both come away with a pretty good foundation going, all right, we know this can work. It helps us put together a business plan. It helped us look at the pros and the cons and kind of go into this eyes wide open.
Okay.
That first year, we maybe sold 12 beef in a year. By the second year, we're at 24. By this year, we ought to be over 30 some odd
Yeah.
beef. So it's getting there. We'd love to get it to where we can move 6 or 7. So I guess for me, the successes are that it's there. It takes work, and we're just happy to see it. And yep, there's going to be struggles and everything, but we're in it
Okay.
for the long haul.
By chance, do you guys ship? Is shipping really an option, or is that something you guys haven't gotten into yet?
That's been really hard for us. When we first started this, we thought we would try it. So we have 2 kind of catches on that. One is to ship a half a beef. It's so much meat that like even your UPS, FedEx, they don't want to handle the weight of those big coolers and stuff to move.
Okay.
So then tied to that somewhat has been you have to be USDA certified through your butcher to do that.
Oh, okay.
We
Yeah.
don't have one local. So we're state certified. He's still inspected. He still gets checked, but it's just one less loop you have to jump through for the government, I guess, to not be USDA. So the cost effectiveness just hasn't been good for us. We've explored it for a few people. We have family down in
Mm-hmm.
Florida that asked about it. When we looked at shipping, it would cost more in shipping than the actual product they were getting. And
Okay.
obviously, we can't eat that cost. They don't want to pay double for what they're getting. So that's kind of been our catch. We're trying to get USDA certified now where we could send more individual, like if you've heard of Butcher Box and some of those subscription
Oh, yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
we're trying to maybe get to where we could start doing that. And then we would be shipping smaller quantities where then it's more cost effective.
Okay. Yeah.
But as of right now, that's been a sort of a trip up, I guess, for us. Just the cost effectiveness doesn't work for what we're doing.
No, that makes sense. And shipping is not necessarily a cheap component of business. So, I mean, you talked about the logistics, and yeah, that takes a lot. If we looked at the next year, looking forward over the next year to 2, what does success look like for the Coombs Farms, Colorado?
You asked, what does success look like?
Yeah, what does success look like for you guys, for your farm?
Success, in my opinion, is to keep growing like we have been till we kind of reach our goal. But success to me is, you probably can't hear him in the background, but I have a 2-year-old grandson here in the house, and the boy loves to be out there feeding cows and loves to be out there riding in tractors and doing the things that we do. Success to me is that my son can live on the farm and make a living on the farm. And we're getting to the point where I'm going to be there too.
Cool.
It goes in steps, and you can't see, but I'm looking out the window right now out to a corral where we have 50 some odd calves that we've been weaning and feeding and fattening, and just being able to get up and look out my window every day and look at the mountains and the room around me. That's success. I'm still here, baby. That's my success.
I think I'm very much in that same boat. I'm grateful that 5 generations back, we started this lifestyle and that I've been able to jump into it. It hasn't been easy in a lot of times, markets, droughts, just, everybody deals with it. You just have your stuff that comes. But I'm grateful for the sacrifices that have been made to keep it all going. And so success to me, much like my dad said, I guess, is being able to just farm and keep it going for the next generation if they want it. As he mentioned earlier in the podcast, we've all had to have off-farm jobs to help supplement just because it's really hard to survive only on the farm. But I actually was able to quit my off-farm job just to dedicate to this. We finally got to a point where it was kind of doing it, and it was tight for a little bit, but now I get to do this. I do some carpentry and other stuff, but it's all what I want. I'm not working for somebody, I'm not stuck to their hours or whatever. And to me,
Okay.
that's a success, to be with my kids when they want to go out on the tractor with me, when they want to go do cows, and just, keep expanding in a way that, I guess, echoing what my dad just said, just the next generation, if they want to take it up, I hope they, have the chance and the ability, and that we're in a position where we can keep helping them. I don't think I know anybody that can just today decide they want to farm and jump in. I mean, you kind of have to have somebody help you. Our family's been really good about doing that. We've worked together. So that would be my success, is just keeping that moving where we grow and can keep doing it, letting more people live off of it.
Cool. Jason, Ethan, this has been phenomenal. It's always good to see you guys. It's always good to hear more of your stories. Thank you for sharing your story about the farm and everything else that you guys are building. I really appreciate your time and your openness. I look forward to future conversations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in today. Please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who'd benefit. My goal is simple: have real conversations with people doing meaningful work. If there's a potential guest I should talk to, send a note to the North Forge Intelligence LinkedIn page. I'll see you next time.